Host Taylor here. Alright, this is my first, I guess, time ever talking to a camera solo. Nick and Eric and I were talking about ENTPs and fighting, and now we're each making our own little video about how we fight. We're going to compare and contrast them. I think right up front, it's worth pointing out there's a lot of different ways to fight with people. I'm pretty much gonna focus on the one where you're not trying to preserve any good feelings or harm. I mean, you're just fucking going for them. And I hadn't really thought about how to articulate this before, but it starts at a mental level or cognitive one, and you got to understand the other person's sort of viewpoint. If you watch them for a minute, they'll normally betray that, especially as they get nervous. As people get nervous, they tend to cover their weak spots. I mean that literally as well as metaphorically. And they'll show you pretty quickly what they're covering. From there, if you know what they're covering, you know what their weak spot is. And then you figure out what to do with that person. And it's all a pretty automatic subconscious process. But when you find the weak spot, then you know how to attack. And it all starts off sort of psychological, you know. And some of them stay there. Some of them never go to physical. Some do. But a lot of them will resolve themselves psychologically. A lot of people fear the psychological component more by itself, or the fear in and of itself, and you can work that pretty effectively. Now, the ones that go physical, I mean, what's there to say? I've been in fights. I don't fight anymore. I quit doing that when my daughter was born, but I've got a pretty good winning streak. And there was two types of fights. There was the blind rage, and those normally involved some degree of, you know, blacking out and attacking, and then coming back to afterwards and seeing that you'd won. And then there was there were the controlled ones, and those were the most effective for sure. Kind of a sort of calm goes over. Well, you know you're gonna fight, and there's that moment of realization where we're gonna fight. We haven't engaged yet. If you recognize that and take that moment, and then it's almost like time slows down. It's kind of like getting in the zone if you've ever played sports or something. But time slows down. People, whatever, everything else kind of drowns out and becomes peripheral. And you're focused on your opponent, and they're moving slower, and they're projecting, basically. People project what they're about to do, which is their number one weakness, really, is knowing what they're going to do, or they get that look on their face before they hit. But time slows down, and you just notice everything about the actual then conflict when it happens. I remember that first time I ever knocked someone out, I made sure to keep my fist vertical instead of horizontal. Little things like that. So the controlled fight is a lot more effective, for sure. I think that for ENTPs, there's a big, I think there's a lot of value in having one fight and realizing that you're pretty good at it. And at the very least, that you're not that delicate. I think once you've got the first fight down, then it loses a lot of the power that violence had mentally. If you've ever been around a fight, they can look nasty. They certainly sound nasty. But when you're in it in the moment, it doesn't hurt that bad, and you survive. So that's about it, I guess. I'm sure Nick and Eric talked about completely different components of fighting, but yeah, starts mental, and that extroverted intuition, that complete openness to observing your opponent and what they are doing, and what they're guarding, what they're hiding, what they're leading with, what they're trying to show you. Knowing what they're doing, just watching your opponent will give you everything that you need.